Hey, welcome to God's Glory and Men's Real Stories. I'm your host, Robert Moore III. Thank you for joining us today. As always, I'd like to welcome all my new listeners. Lately, God has been working. He's been working behind the scenes to truly bring in a lot of new guests, a lot of new listeners, a lot of new subscribers. So I'd like to welcome you all. I also like to welcome all my return guests that have been listening since day one. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to all these men's conversations and stories. Today, as always, I have a blessing for you in the form of vulnerability, where we sit down and we really hash out, we talk about, we converse, we really tap into the testimonies and stories that men have and the walk of life that they're walking through right now as they continue on in their journeys. So I hope that you can sit down, get comfortable, find a quiet place, or maybe it's a loud place. Put in your earbuds, whatever you got to do to really be able to tap in with us and sit down with this community of men and women who like to listen as well, so that you might be able to not only feel God's love, but see God's glory in men's real stories. All right. So on today's episode, I love to bring guests that some I know, some I've known for years, some I may have just met last week, some God puts in my life for the perfect opportune time for them to be able to truly bless whoever he's looking forward to blessing with their story, because I feel like every story, every conversation, every testimony touches somebody in a miraculous way. And so the brother I have today, I have known him since, I'm wanting to say 90s, definitely the 90s. I don't remember what point in the 90s, but our families have known each other since our Victory Christian Center days. For everybody who went to Victory Christian Center, it was like a large family. So we all knew each other. We were all each other's family. I mean, it was a close knit community. And so I've known him since then. We've gone to school together. We were just in here talking about how, like, a lot of the different things we used to experience in school and stuff. But I'm excited. I'm happy to have my brother from another mother who was a mother to me at one time, my brother Michael Metcalf.
Yeah, man.
Hey man, so happy to have you here today.
Hey, this is an honor, man. You're killing it out here. I'm just, I thought I'd have to be on the wait list to get on, but
no, it's funny. Sometimes I hear that from people, and I'm like, I really don't feel like I'm killing anything yet. I feel like God's kind of leading me in directions sometimes, and just really working everything that I didn't think. At one time I was like, God, you're gonna set me up to look crazy, but you know what though? That's okay. Hey, let's do it. Yeah. I can't look that crazy if you called me to do it. So if you called me to do it, I'm not going to worry about what it's going to look like. Yep. I'm just going to do it, and we'll see where it goes. So I'm excited you could join me. And I tell people all the time, I'm definitely not this. I'm humbled when people sit down with me, because I feel like I'm just the guy sitting back being gifted with your vulnerability. Yeah. So I'm the humbled guy. I'm the one who's getting blessed along with everybody else. So I'm excited no matter who sits across from me, because I feel like I'm sitting across the table from a celebrity who's giving me a gift that I've offered them, and I like to offer them the same gift, but I love to receive the gift of vulnerability, and that it creates a space for others to truly be able to heal through our stories, through our conversations. So I'm excited, man. I'm really excited about today's episode, because, I told you, I fell out of the scene of really experiencing what a lot of people were doing in their lives and different things that I knew the space you were in, but I really didn't know how your life had been going and different things until I kind of got back on your IG page, and I was like, oh wow, okay. So he's got a story to tell. Like he's experienced something that a lot of us can't say we've experienced on a day-to-day basis. A lot of us haven't been. So let me start off by letting you introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Mike Metcalf Jr., born in D.C., grew up in Charlotte, and the great Victory Christian was where our paths crossed. I think that was in the 80s, man. I think that was like late 80s.
Yeah, okay.
Because I know some of those, like Melvin and Spoon, and I feel like the Harris boys, I feel like we all met probably when we were, 7 or 8.
That's about right.
That would have been 89, 88, 89 for most of us.
Okay.
So, man, I'll keep it short. I'll tell more as we get going.
Right, of course.
Ended up leaving there, graduated from Charlotte Christian School, went to Carson Newman College, walked on, played football there, had some injuries, met some friends, good people I'm still in touch with. And I think that was mainly the reason why I was there, is just to interact with certain people. Ended up transferring to Appalachian State. I was actually going to transfer back home to UNCC and quit football, but thank God I didn't. A buddy from high school, he was transferring to App to play football. Ironically, he actually never really ended up playing. He just got me there.
Okay.
And then, didn't necessarily play as much as I wanted to. Tore my ACL twice in college. But just this past summer, I was inducted into the App State Legends community. As someone that's gone from the school. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
As someone that's, like the Hall of Fame is for what you do in school, and then that community is for what you do afterwards. So just to leave campus kind of feeling like, man, I didn't really do what I wanted to do here. And then to come back, 17 years later and be honored saying like, hey, we see you, that meant a lot to me.
Right.
So I wanted to keep playing football. Didn't feel like I got the use out of my body or athleticism like I wanted to. So I started training, getting ready for a workout up in Indianapolis for a bunch of scouts. Okay. And in that process, the guy I was training with got hired by a race team to take over their strength and conditioning program. And so when I got back from Indy, he said, hey, I want you to come try out and audition to be on a race team. And I was like, who? What is that? I had never watched a race. I'd never been to one. I know nothing about it. Seriously, I mean, it's like Charlotte is a mecca for NASCAR stuff.
Right, it is.
But did you ever watch race?
I used to get tickets like, hey, look, we'd love to host you and stuff. Like to what? NASCAR. Don't know nothing about that.
Don't know, yeah. But but everybody had those DuPont and M&M's jackets. But that was it.
Oh,
literally, that was all I knew about
the
the jacket. So yeah, man. So I went out and auditioned, and it was a crazy thing for me to experience because I was doing a 40-yard dash and a 5.10.5, and they were checking to see how strong I was and how I could move. And I was like, wow, like all the things that I've been doing my entire life, I can do over here.
Right.
There's more avenues.
Oh,
and so
wow.
It opened my mind, and I got excited about it. And thing that I haven't told a lot of people, but that was in August of like 06. No, 05. I graduated in 04, December 04. So August of like the summer was when I did the football workout. August was then I did the racing workout, and I had opportunities to do both. I could have gone and played professionally, not in the NFL, but other leagues that they have indoor, overseas, European. I was looking at this club in Italy, which I thought would have been a lot of fun.
Right.
And then this race team was like, we would like to hire you. Well, come January, they hadn't hired me yet, and I needed to make a decision. Well, going back to the old VCC days, I believe it was like one of those, midnight services, like getting into the new year.
Oh yeah,
and, which is crazy because I think I actually stayed for this one. Usually, MJ and I would hit it early just to like say hi, and then we would get uptown before midnight. I would come in hot, boy. Right. Yeah. But anyway. But you're saying like, next year for some of you, God's going to crack a door open, but it's going to be up to you to go bust through it. And I was like, let me see if that works. So I just showed up that following the first day, like this January 2nd. I just went to the race team and said, you guys want to hire me. I'm starting today. Like, where do you want me to work? And they were like, huh?
Okay. Yeah. That's a way to do it.
And like, hey, is anybody he called to the GM like, are you expecting Mike Metcalf today? And I could hear him on the other line like, nope. And I'm like, yo, I know he's not expecting me today.
Right.
But it ended up working out, man. Somebody heard there was somebody with the pulse that like in one of the parts rooms, they needed help like immediately. I said, hey, if he's got a pulse, we'll take him. We'll teach him. We just need help.
Now, with you saying that now, there's going to be somebody that's listening that's going to say, so that's what I did wrong. And they're going to literally go back up to their old company or that company that hasn't reached back out. Like, yeah, today's my day to start.
Hey, do
like, it. And you know what?
What they're going to tell you no? Well, they've been telling you no. So you can handle that. But
yeah, no.
I showed up and it was the right time. And it was right what he said. It was that door was cracked open. There was an opportunity. And so I just went for it. And so I started in racing as a parts clerk and a developmental pit crew athlete, and that was January of '06, and that's what I've been doing ever since. I've been in the motorsports industry.
Wow.
So, and that's evolved from developmental to primary to team lead to captain to most recently VP of Trackhouse Racing.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. So most people, when they hear that, most people think, and when we think of racing, when we see racing, when we've looked at it in the news, normally a lot of us are like, okay, I've never even noticed how many African Americans are involved in racing or even attend races or go to races and working for a company that's a big sponsor of races. I see a lot about it. I hear a lot about it. What were your thoughts when you first started working there? How did it look? What was the environment like for you there?
Yeah, it was challenging, man, because first of all, you had the obvious people that didn't like the idea of like, oh boy, here we go, there's a bunch of black people who are going to start coming in now, right? So it was a very kind of like protected kind of thing, like not many people knew about it.
Right.
Sorry, man, throat's a little scratchy today. But the other part was like, then there was the jock thing. So the most coveted jobs, outside of driver or pit crew. And those always went to the mechanics. So you worked hard to go to a trade school to be a mechanic and a senior level mechanic to be able to work on a car so you can be on a pit crew. Well, when people like me started showing up, we just skipped all these mechanics because we had already been doing this training our whole lives to be fast, strong, work under pressure, knew how to travel, knew how to recover, and we knew how to lift heavy stuff. You know what I mean?
So basically, it was almost like an athlete would be better in this position than a person who's been working on the car for so long. Correct. Because that person is equipped for what we need.
Yeah. And then once I started in January of '06, and I'm at the racetrack in February, and there's probably, thousands of people in the Cup Series garage, maybe like 5 minorities, you know what I mean? So, and then, all of them come and say, hey, what's up, man? I see, I see a new brother, man. I got to come say what's up, Right. And then they're all like, be very careful. Like, be very, very careful. Like, watch what you say, watch what you do. All of them were like, hey, there are people that aren't going to want you here, and they're going to do everything they can to get you out of here. So you got to be spotless. And so that really affected me, man. Like, I still feel like a lot of people in racing don't know who the real Mike Metcalf is, just because I felt like I had to have a certain kind of perception of who I was that was buttoned up, serious, really passionate, really cares, because you want those kind of people around. You want those people on your team. If I was to start acting up, cutting loose, just having fun, like what we were doing before the show, they might be like, man, get this guy out of here. He's a clown,
So basically what you're saying is that you had to build a certain identity of yours that maybe left out a couple of your core things just so you could be able to be what they needed you to be for so long. Wow.
Yeah. I could be verbal about my faith, work ethic, man, racing and sports, anything that was competitive, collaborative, but I would never talk about anything related to politics or, just anything that created too much individuality for me. I would shy away from it.
Right.
So, man, it was an interesting time. It was an interesting start, but to see now how many people, even female tire changers, we made a lot of progress from when I first started. So I feel really proud of it.
That's really cool because you're right. Sometimes it takes certain people, like you said, to kick the door down, to step into that place in order to open the door for others. And so, with you making that move, even though I'm sure it was uncomfortable to have to I guess separate or abandon pieces of you to be able to be what you needed to be in that space for others to be able to step into that space now, to create diversity in that space, not just from an African American standpoint, but women, maybe other ethnicities in that space. But that's awesome. Yeah. So since then, where has that led you? Like where are you at these days with that?
All right. So in January, next year, I'm going to move to a part-time role with Trackhouse Racing.
Okay.
I just want to, everybody in racing says their family is the most important thing to them. And if you're in racing, family is number 2, racing is number 1. It's just how it has to work.
But you have to say that, though. I mean, I understand how that works, and even in the corporate world.
I love my family. And it's like, no.
Family comes first.
Family is second.
You're right.
Business is first, right? That's just the American way. Kid's 5. He didn't start kindergarten until next year. His wife wants to travel a bunch next summer, so we just made kind of a tough decision just to kind of me step back a little bit. So I'll still have like a relationship with the team. I'll travel a little bit. I'll do some stuff at the shop. I'll keep a cadence of just checking in and seeing if there's special projects and strategy meetings. But from the day to day, I'll step away. I will say that about 5 years ago, Sean Pete, one of the best human beings I've ever met. We've co-coached and co-led pit crews for over a decade. Written a book together. It's called 12-Second Culture. It's done really well.
Check that out.
And then I think I brought one for you.
Oh, nice.
And then we started what's called Deck Leadership. We started doing speaking engagements, working with teams and leaders on how to get faster.
I like that. Okay, very cool.
So, and we started doing it, and it started slow. I thought it was terrible. I thought our speeches were terrible, but people are like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever heard." And I'm like, "Really? That was awful." Like, I wouldn't even want to listen to that,
I felt the same way with this podcast in the beginning. So don't feel that. Yeah.
So then, but then we started doing it. Both of our wives were like, y'all need to stop doing this for free, like start a business. So we started Deck Leadership, Diversity, Efficiency, Culture, and Kindness. So that's our formula for speed. Talk about it all the time. Like, speed's the currency of business. It's not big versus small anymore. It's fast versus slow, right? So if you can't keep up, you become obsolete. So
very cool.
We've got some pretty big clients, some big name people. We're in some buildings we probably shouldn't be in or don't deserve to at such a young age as consultants or whatever.
Right.
But it's been really good. So that's taken off. So I just knew, like, with the race team, the amount of effort and energy it would take to go back. We had a really good year. We finished a second and a half off from winning the championship. Like, we were right there.
Wow.
Best pit crew. Was a really phenomenal year. So to go and back that up, I was like, that's going to be a big effort. And I think it would come at the expense of my family. So just made the hard, I feel like I'm kind of letting the team down a little bit, but I don't want to be that guy late in life and like, I wish I had spent more time at the race shop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, everybody's going to be like, I wish I had spent more time with my kids. I wish I had done more time just tripping out with people that I care about, that I had a lot of history with, who's ever dying, like, man, I should have spent more time at the office. Right. You know what I'm saying? So,
but it's sad how we don't realize that till
later in life.
Till later in life, where we're like, wow, I missed out on a lot lot of things. I didn't get to enjoy that with my kids or this with my family or doing these things. And it's like I was chasing. Some of us is paper, some of us is notoriety. For some of us, it's that position that we're continuing to chase after. And if I continue to show up every day, he's going to give it to me. And it's like, but like, at what cost?
At what cost? Yeah.
At what cost?
And like, as I was thinking about all this stuff, I read this, listened to this podcast and was talking about memento mori, the Latin term, pretty much just saying, remember that you're going to die. So, you could leave this life at any moment. And so that should determine what you think, how you treat people, what you say, what you do with your time. Like, live in a way that you're spending your time saying things and doing it with people that you care about, people that matter.
Right.
And it was what they would tell, like, Roman generals coming back into Rome, after a victory. They would have these huge parades and everyone's telling them how great they are. And they would have like a gladiator whispering to these generals, just saying memento mori, hey, remember you're going to die.
Wow.
Like, don't get big headed.
Wow.
Don't just
imagine that though. You just came back from war and all of a sudden somebody tells you, oh yeah, by the way, don't forget you're gonna die. Thank you for bringing me back.
Right, you know what I'm saying? But it's not in a bad way though. It's not a bad reminder. It's a good reminder because it means that the things that you are gonna spend you spend your life with your time, right? Like, we have a limited amount of it, and every moment we pay for it, we pay with our life. And so I'm just like kind of at a point now where I want to do things that matter, that impact people, that lift people up. So not that full time in racing isn't going to be it. I'll probably get back in at some point, but putting some energy in my own business and being able to do that with a good effort and spend time with my family is just where I'm at right now.
Right. Well, I truly believe you inspired people even when you were doing the racing thing. I mean, like I said, I look back through some of like your stories and different things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love how I've stepped back from a lot of, just swiping through Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't really do a lot of that.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm planning on talking to somebody, I like to know a little bit more about them just so I can kind of understand like a little bit of their story. And so I was reading a story about how I think it was back in 2017. You met a lady that stopped you that wanted to pray for you.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I did.
Yeah. We're here.
So now it's where we at. So I'm gonna set the stage. I set the stage now. So
are we getting in it now?
Yeah. So tell me about that because that was rich. When I read that, I was like, ooh.
I might get emotional to talk about it because I'm still.
That's cool.
It still bothers me. One of the day before that race, I get a phone call early that morning from a girlfriend of someone on our team saying that one of our teammates had come in pretty drunk the night before and had gotten violent with her and her son. And I don't take too kindly to stuff like that. Like, it really bothers me when you have bigger male person that's beating up on small female, beating up on kids.
Right.
I'm like, if I was in that house, you wouldn't do that to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I told, I talked to some of the management people about it, and I was like, y'all better find them before I do, when I get to this racetrack. And so they did, and pretty much like got me at the door, like, hey, all right, hey, let's sit down and talk. Like, let's, how do we know that this is real? If she's telling the truth, should be kind of set them up. You don't know all the facts yet. I'm like, well, I'll figure the facts out later. But
right.
And I told him, I was like, well, this is probably gonna be my last day because I'm going out swinging. And I'm like one of these guys where, like, man, I have had so many conversations lately from friends of mine, female, telling me about how they were date raped or abused or something like that. And like, as men, we got to do better. Like, it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I get so angry thinking about it. I mean, you got a son here, right? Like,
right.
It's your responsibility to teach him things to where he not only never does things like that, but if he sees those types of behaviors, says, hey, bro, like, that's not okay.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're better than that.
And it's funny you say that because I used to try to figure out where that came from, even in me, because I used to be like, there's some things that aren't your business, Rob. But I used to see things as I got older, as I used to go out. Yeah. And I used to be like, I know it's none of my business, but I can't stand here and watch that happen.
I can't, yeah.
And not say something, even though that guy might be bigger than me.
Right.
Yeah, we might lose, but it's going to be me and his girl against him now.
Yeah, at least we got numbers, you know what I'm saying?
And I'll never forget, I was in a situation one time like that where I had to turn on a friend because I couldn't stand there and let him continue to do that. It just, it wasn't right. Well, it wasn't right, but it triggered something in me. And I don't know where that came from. I've never really gone down that road to understand what I've experienced, but actually I do know where that came from. But yeah, wow, that just hit a full nerve. And so yes, yeah, I feel you on that. You're right.
So they're pleading with me like, hey, can you wait till Monday? Can we wait till tomorrow? We have a big race today. We got partners, sponsors here, all this stuff. Can you wait till Monday? Can you wait till Monday? Can you wait till Monday? And I was like, I'm gonna try. And so I go out to pit road, trying to get set up, get my stuff ready for this race, and I am losing it. I am so mad. And this guy, we had a little bit of history, so he was already kind of like a guy that I was. He was a challenging teammate. He was really good at his job, incredible, maybe one of the best to ever do it. But he was a challenging teammate. at some point, I'm like, I need to sit down, and I am like shaking, and I'm like, forget this. I ain't waiting until Monday. I'm fixing this right now. And as that's happening, this lady walks up to me, middle-aged white lady. Kind of goofy looking, just had I think she had some stars on her head, like face paint, tie-dye shirt. And she said, can I just sit with you? And I'm like, huh? Yeah, I don't think you want to sit with me right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a good time. And I was like, I'm about to lose my job. Like, I'm about to go take care of some business. And it's going to be something just bad happened. And it's going to be the last time it ever happens. And I'm going to make sure of that. And she said, can my friend just put her arms around you? Can she just touch you? She has a gift. And when she touches somebody, she can feel what they feel. And I said, sure. And she touched me, and this woman just started sobbing, just a little quick touch. And she just went from having a good day, normal, happy demeanor. She just touched me and just starts sobbing uncontrollably. And this lady says, okay, now that's would you say that that's how you feel right now? And then I start crying. And she's like, you want to tell me what's wrong? So I told her, I was like, there's a guy on my team. I'm trying to I am doing everything I can not to lose it right now. This is the hardest day I've ever had as a professional. And she was like, can we just pray for you? And they just put their arms around me. We made a little huddle and just asked God to and she just said, this is a, attack. You're vindicated. You feel the right way. You feel the way you're supposed to feel about it. But if you do this, right, you're probably this is probably it. And you have more work to do in this industry. And so can we just pray for you? And so they prayed. And I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I felt like something was lifted off of me. And it wasn't that I was less angry. I just was able to kind of think about a better vision or a different way to handle it or another outcome.
Right.
That didn't just involve me, losing my cool at work. So
right.
Yeah, man, it was
yes.
It was, and we've been in touch since. Almost every race, she'll just send me a little heart, be like, "I love you, Mike. I'm praying for you. Keep going." And those have.
I could only imagine. That's mind blowing because I could only imagine. Yeah. Meeting her and just experiencing that because as men, yeah, man, I talk about it all the time about how we don't like to feel.
No,
we don't like.
It goes from 0 to 5,000. You know what I'm saying?
Because our emotions run us all the way up.
I'm redlining,
and sometimes the truth is we've been holding on to those emotions anyway. We've been feeling some type of way about this person, but all we needed was them just to flip that switch, just to light that fuse and run us all the way to the top. And I appreciate you sharing that, bro. Yeah, that's powerful because I woke up the other night at 4 a.m. and God brought me a thought of how we will sit with our happy moments. We will sit with the joy and the exciting moments, but we will run in the opposite direction from the hurt, from the pain we feel. We don't want to truly feel it. We never want to sit with that. We don't want to cry. We don't, and I know you, like you said, you're emotional. I'm emotional. Matter of fact, I'm probably more emotional now because just like I like to sit with my happy moments. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna fully sit with my sad and my hurt and my upset and my anger. I'm gonna sit with all of them, and I'm gonna let it do what it does to me. I'm gonna let it wash over me. If I cry, I'm gonna cry. If I'm gonna go and punch some things, and of course I try not to let it come out in a unhealthy way. So of course there's some men that like to punch holes in the wall. Well, I don't like to fix holes. No. So I'm not going to break some stuff, but I am going to truly feel it. I'm gonna feel it fully because I feel like how dare I feel my happiness and not feel the anger, the hurt, the sadness that we experience. We run from it, we bury it, and we try not to ever look back at it until something comes back and it just incites it, pokes it again. It's I ain't forgot how you felt about that. Don't forget what he did or how she handled you or whatever the case may be to make you just kind of go back into all right, so here we go again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was good though, man. I appreciate you sharing that. So since then, how have you moved since experiencing that? Because I mean, like, you kind of described like a weight being lifted off of you, and that you realize, like, that's crazy how like we always used to hear, when 2 or 3 are gathered in prayer,
yeah,
you know, things start to happen.
Yeah.
And just the fact that I can look at that and say, wow, that is first of all, God gives people gifts that are just mind blowing sometimes, that are just like, yo, you can do what? But like, you can do what? I'm sorry.
We need to get you on this next X-Men movie, you know?
Right. But it's true though.
Yeah,
I mean, like, there are a lot of people out
facts.
here that truly have gifts that God gave them. And some of
Facts.
them use them in a manner that were more so the devil taking that gift that God gave them to say, hey, look, you know what? You could use that in the circus, or you could use that for this ability to be able to tell fortunes, or be able to read people's minds, or whatever. But it's all about how, like, if God gave you a gift, the question is what is his purpose for you with that gift? You know, because I love how you told your story about how, like, yeah, I was athletic. I was planning. I was ready for football. I left school. I was still gearing up to continue to do this, but maybe it was God's purpose for you to use your athleticism to do this.
Right.
He was leading you, and I'm sure you may have connected that already, but just in listening, I'm just like, whoa, it's crazy how we think we know what our purpose is with the gifts we can recognize until he shows us what our true purpose is, and then has us look at the gifts that we hated, like, you know, my voice all my life, you know.
Yeah. Robert Moore. Anytime if I call, I can call 15 people tonight that I grew up with, like, hey man, I just love Robert Moore's house there, and the first thing they'll say is Robert Moore.
Listen to me, like I truly, like, growing up, I started to hate what everybody else made fun of. And how do you hate yourself for how you sound? But like, truly, I used to be like, yo, I can't sound that bad until I heard myself on a recording. Oh no, I sound that bad. What's happening?
Well, it was just funny, man.
Why would you do this?
Like, man, it's a, you know, like a black dude from Charlotte, man, that sounds like he's from like Texas or something. You know?
So look, I never really knew, because people used to be like, where are you from?
Yeah.
I'm from Charlotte, like all these other people. What you mean? Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Where are you from?
People like, I'm like, nah, for real, bro. He lives right down the street. Like, he's like my neighbors. Like, he lives right off
right around the corner on South Charlotte. You know, we all live in South Charlotte.
Yeah. Nations Ford, man. He's right off Nations Ford.
Yeah. But like, that was one of my biggest, I guess, my biggest insecurities that later on God showed me, like, I'm going to use your biggest insecurity or for my glory and in an area that, like, you wouldn't believe. And like I told you, I think we were talking about how Mr. Bago one time was like, you wait. Like, I feel like he used to, like, just try to pump me up. Like, don't let him mess with you too much, man. Like, one day you're going to be on a show or something. Yeah, okay. I appreciate you trying to make me feel good right now.
Man. Hey, Mr. Bago, he changed the game for a lot of us, man. Because I think I told you, he was saying, Mike, you should go play football somewhere, man. Like, he was like, I think you'd be good at it. So I prayed that night. Like, all right, because we were gonna be VCC lifers, like we weren't leaving.
Right.
The decision had already been made. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So he was like, I don't know. I wish we had a team. So I prayed about it that night. Like, God, if there's a way for me to bring you glory through football, it'd be nice if that could happen, because I would love to play.
Right.
It's a quick prayer. And that next day, my mom was like, hey, so we were just talking about maybe, you know, maybe moving you to a different school next year. And I was like, what?
That was unbelievably fast.
Like, that was quick. You know, and now, you know, I don't think I've been on the hotline with heaven like that since.
Right,
but,
right.
Hey,
like, what's up with the rest of the things I've asked for? They haven't come as fast, but right.
Yeah, I'm on that Roman network, but trying to get back on the 5G, you know. But yeah, man. So yeah, but you know, you have these. And that's why these moments like this are important, because Daryl Bago, we're sitting here talking about this guy that I haven't talked to in probably 20 years, but things that he said to me changed my life.
Right.
There was a prayer line. It helped me realize, like, that helped grow and develop my faith as a teen. And so, you know, you have these moments in life where you're trying to figure out which direction to go, or just need help, and you pray. knowing that, hey, God did it for me once, he can do it again, or at least he's listening, even if I don't get the answer I want. At least he's listening, you know? And like that's important. And so, and then football is the thing that got me into racing, which is where I'm making so much, you know, impact, you know, through just the team that I've been with, and then the companies I get to interact with, you know, along the way. So,
in an area you never would have foreseen. No, I mean, if you had ever told any of us that you were going to go into the racing area, we were like, racing, like streetcar racing, NASCAR, no way. What is that? Like,
you know, people are like, man, you guys have like nice cars growing up. Like, bro, we had for a family of 6 a 2-door Toyota Corolla. Okay, so like a clown car jumping out of that,
and all of y'all coming out of it. It was like
6, 4 kids.
2, what's happening? Like, how many seats do they have?
It's only 5 seat belts, you know. So I don't know who. Somebody was living on the edge. You know,
it's funny because every time I drive past there, I can't help but think about y'all when I look down that road, even where the construction is sometimes nowadays. But I'm like, I remember we used to turn on that road and we used to run up and down this road. Yeah, man. But no, that's wild. Yeah, that is very wild. Okay.
The thing that you asked me a little bit of a question, but in 2020, the driver I was with got fired for using a racial slur. And so I was angry about that because I worked with this guy for years, and you know, I feel like it felt personal that, like, bro, why do you use language like that? You know it's offensive, and we're boys, you know what I'm saying? Like we have a relationship, but in 2017 I had already had that experience with a teammate where I was angry, and I knew what it was, right? It was something that was supposed to get me all worked up to get Mike out of here. Right. Like, I could have easily spiraled. This is, you know, calling people names and made a fool of myself. Right. So I just kind of took the route of like just showing love, man. Right. And then trying to help other people understand that people make mistakes, that he needs to clean up his language, that it's not an excuse. The hardest part is that our team was actually doing really well. That same group of people, like, we got rid of that one guy that was abusive. We got rid of some people, and we got new people in. We had new life. We were about to go win a championship, and then this happens, and all of it crumbles, you know? Right. And so, but, you know, it's just funny how, like, God prepares you for things. Right. And you don't even know it. Right. And you're like nobody, like, very few people knew how hard it was for me to handle animosity with a teammate like that. Right. 3 years before.
And it's funny because I didn't even write this question down, but now I'm so glad you said what you said, because as men, sometimes we have grown up sometimes feeling like women will sometimes hurt us in a manner of speaking. So sometimes our hearts are already kind of conditioned to where it's like, oh, well, yeah, I expected that. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we're never prepared for the men in our lives, the men in our circle, our own little clique of community to hurt us in a manner to make us kind of like be like, yo, wait, like, you're the boys though, like you're the boys, and it
same
breaks
team.
And it breaks us in a way sometimes because God never meant for us to do life alone, and I'm not talking about with just having a woman by our side. God meant for us to be in community, but a lot of the times community breaks us in a way to where we kind of isolate ourselves from wanting to be around men again. Yeah. We have a hard time trusting men. We kind of like, we're like, what's your story? Like, because all the other men in our life, they've broken my trust. They've hurt me in ways that it weren't just like, oh, I can come back from that. Sometimes it hurt us in ways to where we just kind of isolated ourselves from people, whether it be with our women or just by ourselves. Right. And so how have you dealt with that since all these things happening? Like, what have you done to kind of continue to mend that or bridge that gap, build that bridge back to having a community amongst men or with men?
Whew, man, you know, it's ongoing. It's not an overnight thing, but it's just showing up each and every day with the idea of what the standard should be. You know, like, all right, it should be here. we're way down here. All right, we're not close, but I'm gonna keep trying to show up each day and be an example of what it should look like. So that was just, I had to go harder on just trying to be there for teammates, showing love to teammates, trying to keep people included. You know, we talk about efficiency. I mean, that's all about trust. You know, efficient organizations are very trusting ones.
Right.
People trust that if I get it in at block B and I have to pass it to C, the people at C know that B did a good job. So they don't go back and double check on them. They're not trying to throw anybody on the bus if it goes wrong down the line. They just like, no, we trust our process. We trust our people. Like, we're going to do it. So just trying to create processes that would involve multiple departments and people working together and just trying to make it excellent, man. Like,
Right.
that's just how I just was like, all right, I just got to go harder.
That's real. That's deep. Yeah. I can understand that too. It's hard. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's been hard, but like, no, I mean, and it's almost like I have to hold my end of the rope, weight up, in that, like, I have a job to do. Sometimes that's what bridges us a lot of times, in that, like, I still have a job to do. You know how we show up to work sometimes, still got to do my job, but like, but sometimes it's either the work or it's the assignment we have that bridges gaps sometimes.
Yep.
And that it brings us back together, even when we can't see how it may happen, how it may come back together, because since a lot of the things have transpired, and I know you're not so much, I don't know if you're still on that team, do you still find like camaraderie or friendship amongst a lot of the people that have kind of, in a manner, not that they purposely or plan to sever that tie, but things happen.
Yeah, things happen, man, and it's I'll probably write like an interesting book about it one day. You know,
look forward.
I mean, man, I've just, you know, you have to, you know, as a leader, sometimes you just have to bear the weight of things in order to keep the people together. And so there's a lot of things that have happened or people that I really honestly don't care for, and they'll never know because they think I'm their best friend. Because I'm going to show up each day and I'm just going to love and care and be the same person to the person that I love, to the person that I really wish we could fire, you know? So, and that's hard to do, but I think people, you know, deserve to see what that feels like. I mean, we were raised to, you know, it was like, man, you're supposed to be a light in this world.
Right.
You know, you're supposed to when people see you, man, and that might be their only interaction with the believer. That might be their only interaction. A lot of people, it's crazy. I mean, I could probably 500, maybe 1,000 people where like I was the first black person they ever had like a conversation with. And so when things are happening and they're like, oh, let's see how Mike's gonna handle this, because I'm representing like a whole race, you know what I'm saying? You know,
you got us all on your back.
You know, you know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, well, what's Metcalf got to say, or what does he think about this, right? So I'm consciously aware of stuff like that,
right?
And it's you know, I think for the most part, I've handled it okay. You know, things that I wish I could do different, but you know, it's part of being human.
Right? No, that's true. That's true. And I'm pretty sure you handled it exactly how you were supposed to handle it, even if others were like, maybe we can get the PR in here and just kind of clean that up a little bit. Right. It's like, no, it was because, I mean, the truth is that a lot of times, like you were saying, you know, you're here to be a light and to love on people so that people can see Jesus through you. Yeah. Even if you don't ever tell them that you're a believer. Right. We're supposed to go out here and shine a light into a dark world where a lot of people carry a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred, in situations that they don't even really know how to explain. Right. And I'm sure you experienced a lot of that just because I've looked at clips. I mean, I there were a lot of things that you couldn't overlook, especially in the racing world. Even if you didn't watch the news, things found its way through the cracks of like stories that were going on in the NASCAR world. And I could only imagine, you know, a lot of people talk about how like, I go to work and, you know, sometimes I just don't feel like they appreciate me. And, I feel like it's tough. They don't ever want to see me. And I'm like, yeah, well, imagine what it's like in a world where like most of the fans, most of the people that come don't even want you there.
Yeah. I remember it was Phoenix, man, and I've had all kind of problems at Phoenix. And I don't know why, because I feel like it's a very transient, rarely is somebody like born and raised in Phoenix. It's a place where people move,
Okay, right.
But man, I've been like kicked out of the racetrack and accused of doing certain things, and but this one kid, man, I'll never forget. It's probably your son's age. Was screaming all kind of stuff at me one day. He was behind this fence. He was this, teenage kid, like saying the most disrespectful things you could possibly say to a man. And that was another one. I was trying to figure out, how do I get over here? I swear to God, I was like, all right, I did just these steps, like where do they go? And I'm like trying to figure. I was like, I'm
gonna sneak up behind him and be like, hey, now remind me again what you were saying.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, yeah, exactly. You know how it is.
I wanted to see face to face. I wanted to hear it.
Yeah, I wanted you to
face to face. I want to see if you'll do that. If you still got those,
yeah. You were real bold behind that fence,
right?
But like, now we face to face. Like, let's go. Like, speak.
Right.
Yeah. Go for it. But I'm telling you, man, like people are like, man, Mike, he's like so poised and so calm. And I'm like, y'all have no idea how many times I was so close, like razor thin close to it being a wrap.
The rage is just building up inside of me.
I mean,
you have
being
no idea.
Being a news story. Crazy black man attacks.
Oh, they would have listened to me. They would have flamed you.
Yeah, attacks child in the fan zone. But like, but y'all didn't hear what this little.
Yeah, they would have put charges on you and everything.
No, I know.
He lived off Nations Ford Road in Charlotte, North Carolina, where a lot of the drugs and gangs are. And so they would have gone all the way back. They'd have built the whole story.
I had a fake like grill at one point. They would have found that picture somehow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was
dug
coming
it up from something.
Yeah,
man. So it's been interesting, but yeah. So as I'm doing it, trying to find how to get to him, there's this moment of, hey, like, guess not you, let it go. And I was like. And it bothered me for the rest of the rest of the day. I had to still go to work after that. The race was about to start. I got to go be in performance mode. I got to go make sure that I'm excellent and buttoned up. And sometimes, just that's where I feel like a lot of men are.
Right.
Something has happened recently, years ago, whatever, and you don't
have to perform.
But we still got to show up and be a husband.
So then that takes me to a great question, because you're right. We have to show up, whether it be at our job, in our marriage, wherever. Right. We have to show up and perform. Mm-hmm. So then my question to men is that then what are we doing for ourselves? And I'm big in the spiritual health, but also in the mental health area of life, and that I am understanding how important it is, especially for all men, but because I am a Black and Native American man, it's more important that it's like, how can we in our ethnicity and our culture start to understand the importance of dealing with the stuff? Because you're right, because it's like you show back up to Phoenix again, and it's like, let that kid show up again.
Looking for him.
Like where is he at? And instead of like, by the time I show back up again, it's like, you know what? I've processed that. Yeah. Because, I'm going to meet those type of people at every stage. Right. How am I mentally dealing with this so that I'm not one slur away from snapping on somebody at one of these cities? They're gonna get it, like so what are you doing for yourself to be able to truly, and I know you're not so much in that, you're phasing out of that, but what are you doing for yourself to be able to be better, even in your home life, being able to go home and be a father, be a husband after things you've experienced just in going to get gas or going to a Walmart.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because all of that, right? Been pulled over. I don't know. I can't even count how many times. It's at least like 20 something probably. Gunpoint, the whole nine, right? So, and then you just, you're supposed to just waltz into dinner and be fine.
Right,
and,
right.
and that's what we do.
Right.
And
right.
we don't, it's like there's no avenue for it. It seemed like, I was at the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis last week, and I was watching this story on it was a guy that was trying to get into the University of, I want to say it was like trying to get into Ole Miss. And Ole Miss had been in school like 140 some years, and it was the first black guy trying to, and he would travel like some crazy number of miles per day trying to get in. Be 5,000 people trying to protest him getting in. He would go before the president of the school and submit his application. The president would deny him. He'd get escorted out. These all kind of threats, people throwing stuff, spitting at him. He got up and he did it again the next day, and then got up and did it again the next. Like just kept doing it. And his face from day 1 to 3 to 4 looked the exact same. And I was sitting there looking at that, and I was like, "That's what it is," and that's the secret. It was a predetermined, like, man, I'm not gonna let this break me. I'm gonna just keep showing up. And the decision's been made,
Right.
Like it's a choice. Like it is a literal choosing to say, I'm going to tackle these things, and I'm going to take them head on, and that's just going to be what I'm known for. And then in the meantime, it's, like my wife and I had a really tough conversation last night, real tough. But one of those that I think, you have those like make or break conversations. Like I think it was a make conversation, and it was much needed. And I had a lot of stuff that I had been holding on, and stuff that she didn't even remember. I'm going back like 7 years on like things that had really shaped our relationship because they were so impactful to the way that I had experienced her. Like
Right.
the way that she responded.
Right.
It was like, oh God, like I can't really be open and vulnerable like that because it shuts her down, and then she responds like that, and that's not helpful, so I can't do that. And so I've spent years just trying to dance around truthful things that I needed to say with my wife. What's up, baby? I love you, Dara. And it has gotten to the point where it was like causing real distance between us, and nobody would see it. Nobody would know.
Right. No, of course
when people
not.
come around, you put the show on.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do that. And it was easier for her to do it because I would be like, oh, somebody pop over. And she's like, oh, hey. And I'm like, oh, we hey-ing people now? Like, that's the kind of day we've had. Like, we're friendly.
Right.
Because this has not been friendly at all.
I haven't felt friendly at all.
the friendly part.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. 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 That's funny how they get a better version of you than I get.
Yeah. That was the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm just putting our business out here, but I don't, man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I shoot from the hip. I shoot from the heart.
Yeah. No.
That's just,
I
don't script stuff when I speak, man. It's just from the heart. So,
and I can appreciate that.
But yeah, so like with that, part of it is just having good friends. Man, two people, Jay and Kelly, are two people that have like literally saved me. Like giving me good advice. You need to talk about this. You need to open up more. Like, let's meet up. Like, so having, I think so many times in whether it's a marriage or a job, we just put so much weight on that other entity to deliver the hope, the health, the stability that we want.
Right.
And like you said, we are created for community. We need other people and voices in our lives. It can't just be like the way there's more in our brains in 2 weeks than there was in a decade. Like in Jesus' day.
Right.
So that means there's something going on all the time that's distracting us, that's pulling at our attention. And if you don't have people that can help ground you,
and the right people,
the right people that can help ground you, like it don't matter how strong you are at your job, eventually something's gonna happen. No matter how strong you are in your marriage, eventually something is gonna like pull at you at some point.
Right.
Or you're gonna have a kid or a job change or something.
Ooh,
something is gonna like just change things just a little bit. And if you're not on top of it, man, you can find yourself in a very, very different place. And it's those people that are those guardrails for you.
That's good.
And just having, like I talk about in racing all the time, we have spotters. So the car is driving around the racetrack sometimes 200 miles per hour, where when you're going that fast, you don't have time to be looking around, and you definitely are going to miss your blind spots. They're hard to see anyway.
Right.
Well, we're all race cars, right? We all have blind spots in
Right.
life. We all have little trap door over here, over there, or something that's like,
good.
and it's that one little comment, that teammate, that little boy, that driver, that somebody that's going to say that one thing that's going to hit right in that blind spot and get you, right? And if it's not for Vesta walking up, if it's not for, like I said, close friends that can say, hey, like, let me come put my arm around you, I don't know where I'd be, And so I think for all men listening, man, who's your spotter?
Ooh, that's good.
Who's that person that is looking out for your blind spots? Because if not, you wreck, right? And we've all wrecked before. We know what that feels like. We don't like to wreck. We don't want to, but we do.
But wrecks changes.
Wrecks changes.
Yeah, but you're right though.
Yeah.
You're right, because as a man, the worst thing, it's almost like it shows a level of imperfection in men that are already imperfect to wreck. And for us to wreck, especially to wreck publicly, it's humiliating. Yeah. But sometimes the wreck is what spears the changes that needed to happen anyway. That wreck needed to happen. If it wasn't for that wreck, listen to me, you would have kept going. You would have kept driving around at 200 miles. You had to wreck in order to be able to come back and to be able to say and find gratitude in that wreck.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? At first I was pissed. Everything about that wreck pissed me off.
Sure.
But now, you know what? I can appreciate that wreck. Now you look like you don't agree with that.
I don't know. I mean, some of the ones I've had, I'm like, man, if there was what Jesus say on the cross, say, if there's another way,
if there's a way, God, you can take this cup from me, please. Take this cup from me, please.
Try this a different way, I would be down. But if this is how it has to go down, then fine.
You know what though, I could agree, but I don't know. I was running at 200 miles an hour for a long time, and I'm pretty sure my spotters were yelling like matter of fact, I think most of my spotters were probably yelling, "Keep going," while God was probably yelling, "I need you to stop. I need you to hit the pit stop. I need you to slow down." Right. And I'm not listening to them, and I'm listening to maybe the wrong community, and I'm just floating. I'm just like until he breaks you, and until that wreck happens. And yeah, it sucks, but sometimes how else was it going to happen?
Right. Yeah.
And no, it's like I find gratitude. Yeah, no, I'm finding gratitude in my areas where the wrecks happen. That if it hadn't been for them, I'd still be on that road right now. Yeah. So and everybody is different, but I love that was so solid about the spotters, because you're right, we all need them. We all need them, and we need solid spotters, the ones that can spot what we can't see, what we're not wanting to see, what we're so blinded by resentment and hate and hurt that we're dude, I can't see nothing right now, man. I'm just trying to get in them stands and get that kid right now. I'm trying to get him right now. He doesn't know I'm on him.
People are gonna think I'm violent, man. But
no.
I'm a little bit, man.
Well, you know what though, and that's why I asked about even your mental health, because see, a lot of times it's not that we're violent; it's that we carry around so much that it is important for us to unpack what has created a level of like rage, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's emotional intelligence to understand how can I still have all the emotions that I'm going to feel, but be intelligent about how I'm going to handle them. Yeah. And that's so huge, especially in our culture. I mean, we see people pop off all the time, and it's like, where's the emotional intelligence to say, you know what? It's Saturday. I'll be in the jail till Monday. You know what? You right. You can have this right now.
Right. Yeah.
You can have it. You right. I'm not going to. There was a moment where I wanted to pop off, but I just dialed it back because I realized you're not even worth this. No. You're not worth this.
Or like these shoes at this parking spot, or it's like like what are we doing?
You fighting people over parking spots?
No, I'm just saying like stuff on the news during
Christmas
shopping. You see people shooting people over like, oh, he took my parking spot.
Yeah, well, see, you know what? That's another thing of emotional intelligence. If you know you have a temper, you don't need to go out shopping. That's why they have online shopping. That is calling your name.
It is for you.
It's for you. That is where you need to hone in on that.
Indefinitely.
Yes. Until you deal with why you have that rage.
Right.
Because I tell people, you don't have to die that way. You don't have to keep there. I have learned so much over this past year of dealing with a lot of the things, even when we were just talking and like something triggered me on why we were talking about the feeling we have for seeing men or knowing men that feel the need to maybe want to be aggressive with women. It triggered me back to a moment of why.
Yeah.
And so the thing is I can carry that with me, but I've learned it triggers our teachers and that they trigger us for a reason. So I can later on go and sit with that again and be like, yeah, I've been holding that for a long time. And it's right. Every time I think about that, it makes me want to jump on somebody. So am I going to keep carrying that? And not to say that it's unhealthy, but who knows what that could end up causing you to do one day. You have 2 daughters.
Right.
Who knows what you could end up doing one day because of hearing something like that. Yeah. So Rob, you gotta let that go. You gotta sit with that. You gotta feel that, and then more importantly, you gotta give that back to God because let Him carry that. Just like that weight was taken off of you, He wants to take those weights away from us.
Man.
He don't want us to carry that stuff, but it's a matter of us releasing it.
Yep.
So no, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Well, you know, I appreciate you sitting down with me, bro, today. And more importantly, I want to make sure I give you the opportunity to I don't know if you have any last words, anything you want to close us with or anything like that.
I think we're just going to have to do a part 2, man. I feel like I just got going.
Hey, dude, listen to me. No, listen, I love part 2. I'm already starting to like plan, like, because what I've learned is that in life, we're consistently growing and our stories are consistently evolving. Right. You know, that's why people write multiple books. And so I am already starting to gear up with talking to another brother who was like, yo, I would love to come back and just like talk about or rehash like what and like where my life has taken me since then, because people need to hear the testimonies from the time we talked one time to like where God has taken me now. And so, definitely. Matter of fact, we might even have to add a couple extra guests, maybe bring in the crew from Victory and like we all sit down. I told you, I for some reason I had the craziest vision of seeing that, but no, I would love to do that, man.
That'd be an honor. I'll go round them up and bring them over here.
Yeah, okay.
You just gotta give us a time limit, though. Right, we need a time limit.
Right. Well, more importantly, I have to control the mics. Okay, your mic's off now. But no, that would be awesome, man. Well, cool, well, bro. I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate you just truly like sitting down and finding a space to be able to just, shoot from the hip, as you said, and in that shooting from the hip, that's where a lot of men can. That's what starts as one of my mentors, Reginald, always tells me. That's what creates the Me Too movement of wow, Me Too, Me Too, like, and so without that, there's without people talking about the things we're going through, nobody can ever get to that place of Me Too. I'm going through that too. And so I want to appreciate you for what you've done, not only in your career and opening doors for other people who never thought they would be in a space that you came before them. I want to appreciate you for the things that you have dealt with, that you fought through, so other people can see and get the roadmap to like, so that's how it's done. So, brother, I appreciate you. I want to give you your flowers while you're still here, just to let you know I appreciate what you've done, man, in the space that you've done it, just to kind of even just show people, like, listen, just because, not to say your situation isn't bad, but understand there are people that are working in situations where, yes, it is stressful. Yes, it is hard, but we can all persevere through that. We can all continue to truly dig in to understand that as we move, whether you're a Christian, whether you're whatever religion, whatever you're doing, it takes nothing for us to continue to want to. I tell people the one way you can truly show a person how you feel is by loving on them, even when they're hating you, even when they're showing hate, because it kills them. It sends them home like, I gave them every reason to snap.
Yeah.
And they did. They still continued to love on me. They still continued to smile. And I don't know if they were being real or not, but it felt real. It felt real. And it's like, So I would tell you, continue to love people, man. Continue to love on people the way you have been, man, because I appreciate all that you've done in your space.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, awesome. Well, look, hey, I appreciate all of you. Sitting down with us today. I know this blessed somebody, if not all of you, because it was awesome for me. If you got nothing from it, I want to thank all my listeners. I want to thank my behind the scenes crew. I want to thank everybody that makes this possible, that continues to support, that continues to share. Thank you all for showing up. I hope you guys look forward to another sit down with us. We'll see you again soon. All right.
Hey, we appreciate you listening today and hope that if you enjoyed the conversation and stories, you will subscribe and listen to past and future content. Feel free to comment, as we would love to read your comments and pray over all of our listeners. Also, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at God's Glory and Men's Real Stories.
We understand as men how the thought of even facing your own story and the pain and hurt that come with that is a challenging task. But we don't want you to feel like you are all alone, because you are not. God has not forgotten you or left your side, and he loves you no matter what you have done. Your healing is important to him, and we want you to have these free resources that already exist if you're considering giving up or need someone to talk to. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255. If you need support but are not in crisis, consider reaching out to a warm line if you need to talk to someone. Speaking to someone on these calls is typically free and confidential and run by people who understand what it's like to struggle with mental health. Find a local number by going to warmline.org.